Greetings, casual citizens, and welcome back. I am Paul, joined as always by my co-host Haley. Say hi, Haley.
Hello, everyone.
And we're here reviewing Big Little Lies, Season 2, Episode 6, The Bad Mother. First impressions, Haley, what did you think?
I liked it. You know, a lot happened. Nothing dragged on. It was very, kind of fast paced. Yeah, I overall liked it. There were definitely a few scenes that I felt, I don't know, I felt really good about. Whether it was the interaction between the actors and actresses, and it was pleasing. I liked it. Not my favorite episode, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I
What's
got.
your take?
Uh, I'm not a fan. I just there were a couple of big things in particular that I really didn't like.
What is
Um,
it?
just the whole Bonnie thing with this idea of the idea that she pushed Perry on purpose because she was mad at her mom or something like that, not really pushed him on purpose in the sense that she was out to kill Perry, because ostensibly I don't think she even knew him before that night, right? But the idea that I guess whatever she went through caused her to want to be angry and hit people all the time, and to me that just felt totally unearned. It felt like a retcon, right? In the sense that, like, it makes sense within the scope of this season and what we've learned about Bonnie and Elizabeth and their relationship through the season. It doesn't make any sense at all of what you saw Bonnie last year, because she's talking when she has that whole scene where she's telling Elizabeth, I resent you for this and this and that, right? And one of them is like, I resent you for always wanting to hit everyone all the time. And I was like, I don't know, we saw you for like an entire season and you were super chill, right? So I
Right.
don't know where that came from. And then, I resent you for marrying a man that I don't love. And I was like, again, first time I've seen this. Like, that kind of came out of nowhere because it seemed like you liked him.
And yeah, in season 1, she definitely was happy with Nathan. It wasn't until after this happened that their relationship kind of went, downhill.
Yeah. So to me, it just felt, I don't know. It felt really unearned. And I just didn't like where they went with that. Uh,
Yeah.
I did.
And I mean, I the only other way I could possibly see that is that maybe, 'cause but it's all, stemming from this season. It's nothing that we would ever think of about Bonnie and from what we know in season 1. Um, she had that argument with her father about him not protecting her.
Mhm.
So, maybe it, it was her wanting to, be the one to step in and protect someone when she sees that harm is being done to them.
Well, it's funny because I think you just wrote a better script for this episode. like, like no,
Oh,
but
thank you.
well, I mean, but seriously, that was 100% better than what they did, right? That would have been believable, right? Where if she had said,
Right.
like, I resent you for being so defensive and all this, for killing this man because I needed to protect someone. Like, if it had gone that direction, instead of making it seem like, oh, she's this person with this latent violence, where I was just like, that just
Yeah.
doesn't seem right. It just
Mhm.
doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
And then there were other things.
Like
And
what?
well, I mean, I hated the hearing overall. It just felt really icky. But in that sense, I guess that was the intent to some extent. Um,
Icky as in like the questions that the guy was asking, or
Yeah, and well, not just that he was asking the questions, but that they seemed to work. Like, that just felt really. It seemed like the Monterey Five were the only ones sitting around going like, "Hey, this is really gross, guys. Like, why are we doing this?" Everybody else was
yeah.
just like, "Oh, this just seems like a normal line of questioning," and I don't know. The judge was sustaining a lot of the objections of Celeste's attorneys. So, but then
I
they
know
didn't.
I noticed that, yeah.
But they didn't show it, so it didn't feel like it mattered. It was just like you just hear her say sustained every well. That was kind of an interesting choice. So it felt off. That whole hearing felt off. It felt it made me feel icky because as I got to the end, I started thinking like, oh man, but okay, she's got all these because we didn't know about them, right? Like
I know, I was yeah, I was kind of, I
the
was
only
very shocked
the only
when I
one
was
we knew about was Joseph, and I
correct.
think the Alexander Skarsgård body double guy. I think we knew about
The
that.
one in the bathroom?
No, the one with the long blonde hair that was at her house, right? I think. I'm thinking that's. I'm thinking we saw that before, but maybe not. But either
There
way,
was a there was a clip last episode of the scene of her in the bathroom stall with someone. I just naturally assumed it was just the the bartender from before. I did not notice that it was another person.
hmm I yeah. I mean, there were more than what I thought, and I was as I was watching it, I was thinking, oh man, maybe there is something here. Maybe Celeste does need help, and then it just made me feel icky afterwards because I was like, why am I doing that? Why am I falling for this? Like, okay, yeah, her husband died and he was abusive. Like, she's having problems. Like, what is surprising about this? And I just wasn't a fan. And I will full disclaimer. I read a story just today. I think it was Hollywood Insider or Variety or something like that, who basically a story broke that the woman who directed this entire season, after she directed this entire season with and had an edit and everything for what her vision of what this season should have been, because it wasn't the same director who directed last season. The showrunner got together with the guy who directed last season and they just went and re-edited the whole show to make it feel more like season one and didn't tell the director, and apparently they've been planning it the whole time, and but didn't tell her, so let her direct it however she wanted, and then these two guys just went and just re-edited everything. And
Bastards.
yeah, and it that's what makes it feel like, oh, it I mentioned it last week of how the quick cuts and they never seem to finish anything. And then in this
Mhm.
one, how things feel disjointed, the way like some stuff just blended in the background. So maybe I'm just noticing these things more now that I read that story and I know that this happened. I full disclaimer on that. So that could just be my bias, right? But at the same time, I can't get rid of my bias. And knowing what I know now and looking at it through that
Right.
lens, I was just kind of like, I'm not a fan. And also I will say the other thing I mentioned this consistently throughout this season, that it doesn't make any sense at all why this is all even a thing, because it seems like it
I
should have just
know.
been self-defense. And that kind of blew up because some writer journalist like mentioned that this week and everybody was like, yeah, this totally doesn't make sense. I was like, yes, that's what I've been saying for weeks. And it still just doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, so that's just kind of, I just want to say shout out. We got a comment saying hello, and I would just like to say hello back. Welcome to the chat. Please feel free to ask any
Hello,
questions.
commenter.
Yes, feel free to ask any questions, and we'll address it when we can. So anyway, yeah, so I'm not a huge fan. I will say it ended on a somewhat interesting note of, I guess we're gonna
Yes.
get a cross examination of Mary Louise, and that's cool. Um,
Yeah, I'm really excited about that because I'm assuming Celeste is possibly going to bring up how her other son passed away. I
mm-hmm,
know there was talk of how her husband who divorced her
mm-hmm.
after the death of I cannot
Raymond,
remember his Raymond. Yes,
yes.
thank you. That the ex-husband kind of blamed her a little bit for that, and who knows what all Celeste knows about Raymond's death.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, because who knows what Perry
so
told her before he died,
well, exactly.
right?
Um, so yes, I'm very excited to see how Celeste, who is said that she is going to be the one to question her, how deep she's going to dive into Miss Mary Louise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just yeah. Well, anyway, I've made my opinions of that, so we could just overall, so we could just move on to some big topics. I think where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the hearing, the biggest part of it? We kind of already talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, let's start there.
Yeah, so we've already talked about, I mentioned a little bit about how, we find out about more guys, but the the whole thing just felt very, like I said, icky. It felt very gross. Icky, very icky. It just the whole thing of like him questioning of did you ever call the police? Why did you stay with him? And it's just like, can't we get past these stupid bullshit questions on this, right? And I appreciate that at least the judge was like, hey, I know I've seen plenty of women stick around for all these various reasons, and the response that we got to Celeste when they came back after the recess I thought was perfect, right? Where she says, when I was happy, I stayed because I was happy. When I was depressed, I stayed because I was depressed. And then she said, ultimately, though, she stayed so that she could survive, right? And
for her boys,
right? And but also herself, right? I mean, it was conflicted. She loved him, but also, I think I took from that also a genuine fear of what his repercussions would be if she left. She was always afraid of that in season 1. In particular, when she finally told him and she was stuck in the car with him. I mean, she was terrified, rightfully.
yeah.
So, I can't blame her for that. So just the whole thing felt gross. And I was just like, why are we still doing this in 2019? And at the same time, though, maybe that was the point that the episode was trying to get across, right? Like, hey, by the way, this is still going on, but it sucks. So on the one hand, it sucks. I don't like to see it, but then again, maybe it's making a point of that, and that's the point. I just feel like it didn't do it strongly enough in certain circumstances. But anyway, what did you think?
I mean, I thought it was a little unnecessary. I mean, I knew we were going to have to do a hearing, but bringing up what happened with Perry and her, of course they had to try and, make her out to be this, unfit mother. So I like the fact that, there were things that we really didn't know about that, she was doing. I did like that writing, and I did like that little bit of a twist. I didn't see that coming. But I felt like it was not focusing on a custody hearing, and it was more of what happened to Perry. And well, I guess it did. Because they were trying to, they were talking about her issues with the Ambien and the the hoeing around a little bit. But I don't know why we had to the back and forth as far as the days. Next tomorrow. We'll pick this up tomorrow. I don't know. I feel like it could have been done better.
Yeah, it felt. Yeah,
So
I agree. I totally agree.
But I did like I like the end. I like where it ended to and for next episode as far as Celeste questioning Miss Mary Louise. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I was really concerned because we see Celeste start drinking the night before the second hearing, right? After the first one, because they did kind of a day recess and they came back again. And we saw her that night after she put the boys to bed. She started drinking really quickly. And I was just afraid that she was gonna kamikaze, right? That she was just gonna self-destruct on the stand the next day and everything was gonna go awful. But on the other hand, her second day I thought was amazing. That's where she gave that, like I said, the line of, I stayed to survive and all that stuff. Thought she handled it brilliantly. It seemed like instead, what that vodka was magic juice and confidence juice, and she has like come back
that liquid courage.
Yeah, and she has come back totally like she is armed and ready to go to war.
Mama bear.
Well, and I'm excited because there's got to be skeletons in Mary Louise's closet, right? Like,
of course there is. Just the way she talks to people, and yes,
yeah,
The way she's talked about her childhood and her jealousies, and
Mhm.
that bitch got secrets,
Oh yeah,
and yeah.
and some it. You know what it feels like, and this is what I'm hoping. I'm hoping we get A Few Good Men next week. Have you seen A Few Good Men?
Oh, yes, yes, I have with, Tom
Tom
Cruise
Cruise.
and, Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, and that
Yes.
I hope we get that. We're just like, I don't know what I'm gonna get, right? But like, I feel like he did something, and I feel like if I push him hard enough, I can get it out of him. And I think that's the truth with Mary Louise. Like, I don't think Celeste knows anything for sure, but I feel like she has an intuition that there's more to this. There's more to the story. There's more to this woman, and she appears, just like Jack Nicholson did, right? Had it all under control, smooth customer, all this stuff. Mary Louise comes off that way. But if things start to go wrong, because Mary Louise seems to have that same personality of like she likes to control things around her, and I feel like people like that tend to be, if you can pull that control away from them, they get desperate. And I'm hoping we see that and we
Ah.
get just this breakdown, just like Jack Nicholson did, of like, yeah, I left my son and he did whatever and died or something like that, and then of course like, oh well, how can we give custody to this woman who has literally had a kid die on her watch, right? So
Exactly, yeah.
so anyway, that's what I hope we get out of it. And so I think the second half was stronger, and I hope that continues. Any other thoughts on the hearing?
No, that's all.
Okay, I think I would like to talk about Renata and Gordon because oh man, it's
I'm
funny.
glad you brought them up.
Well, when I was watching the scene, the first scene where the nanny Juliet, right? Which, did we know her name before? I don't remember ever hearing her name before this.
I'm sure we did.
Yeah, kind of a throwaway character. And this is another thing where this felt kind of unearned. Like it felt like oh, we needed like a big twist here. And it was like, okay, but like I didn't even know her name. Like there was nothing to say,
It,
you
it
know?
was filler.
Yeah, it was just like, hey, we've got 2 episodes left. This is the penultimate episode. We have to start throwing some curveballs. And it was just like, okay, but like I don't know anything about this woman. I'm not super surprised.
And it Yeah, and it's not like it was anything that hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
Oh, he was, fucking the nanny.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, of course. I don't know. Next.
It's like, wait, you're gonna tell me the guy who breaks the law, launders money, and commits insider trading is also infidelis? Okay, right? Not a surprise here. I mean, it's just it was just it didn't make sense to me. But overall, I mean, I guess it was like a jarring moment. I mean, that was interesting when it happened, but overall, I just feel super bad for Renata because, like, man, she didn't deserve any of this, right? Like,
I know. I know. Renata was such a bitch last season,
I know, but
and
not this.
she does not deserve this. No, especially when you just hear about, everything that she came from, which was nothing.
Mhm,
I was really rooting for Renata and to have that. This is a little much. I mean, I know she's a piece of work, but this is a little much for her.
mhm. Well, and it just feels like Renata's been such a, even though she's been a better character than she was last season, or I guess a more full character than she was last season, where she was, fairly two dimensional for 6 of the episodes. It still feels like we don't focus a lot on her, and she's still like one of the smaller, probably the smallest story of the season still. And so to have all of this thrown onto her, it's like, man, there's just so much going on and so little time that we spend on it. It just feels like, and I guess it feels weird because it's so disconnected from everything else, right? Like Madeline and Ed, that's kind of tangentially connected to the story, the central story, because Madeline is the one who invented the story of, he slipped, right? And now she's struggling with telling Ed that, and that ties into their whole trust thing. Obviously, Bonnie is involved. obviously Celeste and Jane are involved. And then it's like, oh, by the way, we have Renata out here with this other totally separate storyline going every once in a while. And we're just going to throw a curveball in here in the second to last episode because reasons. And it's like,
Yeah. We
okay.
gotta fill a couple minutes.
It's like, oh, we have to add another shock. Anyway, but I'm harping on old ground there. But it just, the whole thing just felt like it just came out of nowhere. Like it wasn't surprising, but it just came out of nowhere. And it's like, I didn't need it, you know?
Not earned.
Yeah. She's got enough problems, right? She got enough problems with the bankruptcy. She's stuck with them through the bankruptcy. Let her take this one. You know, I don't know. I feel bad for her. She didn't need it.
Fucking Gordon, god damn it.
Terrible guy, I gotta tell you what. But so let's talk about Ed and Madeline, their relationship. We get a little bit more out of that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes. So honestly, my favorite scene of the whole episode was when Ed walked in on Madeline dancing around in her wedding dress to the song that he picked out. I thought, and when he sat down and
he said,
just kind of, I'm sorry. Yeah, he just kind of sat down and was like, this is doing it,
Well, he made that callback to the conversation they had earlier where he said, you don't have a magic wand that I can trust you again, and then but he sits down after he sees her in the dress, he's like, this feels like a magic wand, But
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, that was definitely my favorite scene of the episode, because it's also like, I feel like it's the first time we saw Ed smile this whole season.
Yeah. And I want Ed to be happy. To me, it was nice. It was a nice scene, and I wanted to work with him so much. I've said it multiple times now because I love him, and I think he's a good guy. I think she's a good person, and I wanted to work out. And also, oh my God, what's her name? The daughter, Claire.
Chloe
is amazing, and I want that to work out for her too. So, I love that as well. I love that sweet scene, but I don't know. To me, it felt like I don't understand what about the dress and the song, made him had such an impact. I don't know. Maybe I don't understand that. Was there something I missed? Maybe because he said something to her at first, and I think I missed it. Like he said something about. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I guess I don't know exactly what he said to her when I think she just kind of started talking. Thought I'd have to go back and
I think
see.
She said something about the way that she felt on her wedding day or something like that. So maybe, but I didn't catch exactly what she said. And as we all know, I don't watch with closed captioning, so I miss things sometimes. So I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing it wrong, apparently. But part of that's because I have to capture the pictures, and I don't want closed captions on the pictures. So
good rebuttal.
Yeah, so it's a fair point. But anyway, just the whole thing. If she made a comment, about how oh, I felt, I loved you on this day, and I had this whole future ahead of me. It seemed kind of, I guess that makes more sense. But either way, I mean, I'm just happy to see it working out between them because, like I said, I want it to work out. So. Same.
Yeah, and same. 100%. Yes, I want them to work out. Oh my gosh. I thought that whole Ed and Tori lunch was really weird. Obviously she was really kind of coming on to him. Mainly, it sounded like, it was like a revenge fuck. I don't know. I guess.
Well,
now you want to talk about icky. That scene made me feel icky. I didn't like that.
Well, it was funny because she made a big point about it not being revenge for her, right? Like she said to him, "Oh, this can be revenge for you," but she was very, she deliberately made a point about it, she has a masturbation diary and what did she call it? A bucket list, and you made both of them, and I was like, Ed's a cool guy, but I don't know. Why are you so into him?
Yeah, he don't want none of that. He don't want anything you got, Tori. So sorry, bye.
Well, and I'm just so confused because we saw her with her husband at the end of the last episode.
I know. Like, what? Why was that not brought up? I mean,
Well, it's like,
yeah.
what did that mean? Like, is he in on this? Is he like, did he give her a pass as a recompense?
Is this like a cuckolding type of like fetish? Like, I don't know. Is that what they're into? That's cool, but I mean, we need some more context on why Joseph was sitting in the corner of the bar at the end of last episode.
Well, okay, I gotta say, I'm not well versed in the cuckolding scene, but I gotta say, if I were to get into it, it seems like if you were to ask me to engage in this, you should be upfront about the fact that your husband is also going to be there. Because if you just come on to me and say, "Hey, we can sleep together," and you're my masturbation book, okay, that's a really great story. You're getting me involved. I appreciate it. However, that's very. If I show up, if I decide to engage in this, and I show up, and your husband's sitting there ready to watch, I'm feeling very different about the whole situation. So
yeah.
So the fact that she didn't mention it really concerned me. Right? I was like, or it confused me. Because we see him and it's like, is he in on this? Is he not? Right. Is it a cuckold thing or is it a, like I said, he gave her a hall pass to be like, here, I'm sorry, you get to do this. Right. And as whatever retribution or part of a deal or a compromise or something like that. But I still feel like that's lingering. And I was so certain after last episode that this was like a Corey issue where the police had gotten to them and they were gonna
right
that
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, that they were trying to, and to see that not pay off and to see it just be about like, oh no, she just really wants to fuck Ed, which, hey, don't blame her. Go, don't blame me, girl, and like go for it. But why was the husband there? I just don't understand. I'm so confused by it.
I mean, I guess I only watched that episode once. I did not go back and rewatch that episode. It wasn't like his imagination. He didn't just like picture him sitting there, did he? Hopefully not.
I don't think so. I mean,
yeah. It felt very real to me too. So
because I felt like she looked at him first, and then that's why he turned and looked. It was like, oh, hey, there's your husband.
Okay.
So I don't know. That I'm still very confused. I'm hopefully this is something that we're gonna get next episode, because otherwise, I just don't know what the point of that. Because they've done that a few times. Like the first time we saw Tori, remember? And if you go back and watch our first episode review, we were both sitting here like, I don't understand why we met this person and why that matters. And then they brought it back, and I made a comment about how they're doing a really good job of planting these seeds and then bringing them back later. So I hope that continues with Joseph, because as of right now, I don't know what the point of that was. So that's another gripe on this episode. But either way, a bigger gripe with that whole thing was just like, again, we didn't see her character a lot in season 1, but what we did see of her, like, this is not how she behaved. So I don't know. I'm just it just feels like we're getting a lot of people acting out of character of what we know about them already. And that was just one more example of it to me. So I don't know. Am I wrong on that?
No. I totally follow. I can agree with that.
But, like I said, to be fair, we didn't see much Tori last season, but
we did not. No, I mean, the only time we saw her was in like 1 or 2 episodes, or maybe just 1 episode, when she is at the hospital with Joseph.
Well, she was in the finale too, because she was at the party. I feel like that's where we saw her the most.
Okay, in season 1. 2 episodes.
Yeah, but I feel like we saw her the most in the finale, and she was just mostly just like upset at Joseph, because she was very suspicious of him, having cheated, and I don't think he had come clean at that point. So again, I don't know when she learned about this. So is this something that happened afterward? Like after she found out about him, it made her be more aggressive this way? I don't know. It just feels like we didn't get any of that to describe it, so it just seems weird to me.
No context.
Yeah, definitely no context. So anyway, All right. So we mentioned a little bit about Corey. So at the end of last episode, we saw Corey.
We had very high hopes for Mr. Corey.
Well, yeah. I mean, he was acting great, and then at the end of last episode, we see him come out of the police department, or Bonnie sees him come out of the police department, and of course, my thought was, yeah, you go ahead, watch our review from last week. Several things went through my brain before finally settling on, I think he's a cop. And luckily I wasn't alone because Jane also thought he was a cop. Now he says that no, he's not a cop. He just got called in for questioning. Do you believe him? Because I'm not sure that I do.
Oh, I believe him. Yeah, I
Okay.
do.
Okay. I kind of was still under the impression that maybe he was a cop, or maybe he did this deliberately. But, you know, I don't know. I guess I could be wrong. I'd be glad to be wrong. But to me, that was just that was where my head was. And so for him to say that, well, he just got called in for questioning, I don't know. I didn't really believe it. Do you think Jane believed him though? Because she said she did.
I do.
Yes.
I feel like she does. Yeah, I feel like I do believe her. Yes.
Okay. I mean, it seemed like she did. And she says, well, because he tries to get back. It, I gotta be honest too. In this episode, he came off really clingy again, like showing up at the beach where she was with her son. I was like, I don't know, man. Like you're kind of informing on her on the cops, maybe, and then like she's dealing with all these struggles. Just like I don't know, give her some space, right? To me, that felt clingy.
Give the girl a little space.
Yeah, and especially after she just asked, like. I gotta say, we just commented last week. He'd been handling it so well, dealing with her past and her trauma and all that stuff, and being very gentle and being very understanding around her, and that was great. But then this episode just, I don't know, maybe if the woman that you like, that you're involved with, she has a history of rape, and she says, hey, I'm asking you to give me some space, and then you just show up around her and her son. That's probably not the way to go, man. I would have reconsidered that.
Unannounced. Yeah.
I would have reconsidered. So I don't know. I have personally never been rooting for Corey again. Bring back Dude Bro from first season. I don't know what happened to him. What was his name?
Yes, Ben from the coffee shop. Bring him back.
Bring back Ben. I'm on Team Ben. Like I was on Team Ben from the beginning.
Ben.
I was never on Team Corey, but again, he kind of screwed up on this one. So I don't know where they're gonna go with that. I don't know. What do you think? Are you on Team Corey? Do you like Corey?
I mean, I do like Corey, but obviously Jane's needs her space, and of course, I am a little partial to Ben from last season because I really did like him. I was really hoping Jane would have went on a date with him, but yeah, he was. I mean, I guess he was a little. I don't want to say creepy. I mean, I feel like he just really liked Jane and feels like he really messed up by being ordered. I mean, it's not like he had a choice as far as when it came to questioning.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
but yeah, he definitely needs to give her a little space. Don't be a creep. Just give a little space.
yeah, and that is fair, right? Like in terms of, well, okay, if he is being honest and he did just get called in for questioning, that's not his fault. He can't do anything about that. And
he told them nothing.
He told them nothing. So I get it. But yeah. Anyway, like we said, just give her some space. Like it's tough. And she said, okay, it's not even about the cop thing anymore. So just don't show up. Just don't show up at the beach with her and her kid. Like it's just not cool. That's all I'm saying. But otherwise, if he makes her happy, I never felt the chemistry. I guess that's part of it too. I never felt the chemistry between Corey and Jane. Whereas like Jane and Ben, I felt like was immediate. And I felt like it worked all season. And this season Corey just kind of felt shoot in. But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. No like.
Do what?
I don't like.
Yeah.
Don't like Corey.
Yeah. The fish thing. The fish thing really threw me off.
Ah,
I have a
I
hard
think
time
that threw
recovering from it.
everyone. I think that threw everyone off in the beginning.
That's a hard thing to recover from, man. I gotta be honest. So, anyway, um, well, speaking of Jane, she goes and at one point sees Mary Louise and tries to get her to stop the hearing and to stop trying to go for custody, and makes I thought a valiant and a viable. I don't know if that's what I'm looking for, but she made a solid defense of Celeste, right? Like, hey, she's struggling, but everybody's struggling. And then of course, Mary Louise, like, are you struggling?
Are you struggling, Jane?
And then Mary Louise goes after.
Ziggy told me you bought a gun.
Oh, it's
Do you
just
plan on shooting Perry? Oh man, bitch, get out of here.
this woman, man. It's just, oh my god, it just never ends. Like, man, it's like, yes, the woman who was raped, who was living in the same town as her rapist, although she didn't know, but yes, she bought a gun. Like, surprising, It's just have a little compassion, Mary Louise. It's killing me. She's killing me. I can't just, because it felt like she accepted that her son did these things, right? But then she's
Oh,
kind
I
of gone
don't
back
feel
to,
like she's ever accepted it.
well, there was one time, and it was a few episodes back, and I think it was when she was talking to Jane, and she mentioned that how she had trouble reconciling, Perry and being a rapist and then also being her son that she loved. And but then, in that conversation, she seemed to kind of come to grips with the fact that, like, it looked like she believed Jane, because Jane was, I mean, she was telling the truth. She was being earnest. So I don't know how you couldn't be compelled by that, right? And I guess I felt like that kind of broke through to her, but if it did, it didn't last long. And it's just like, this isn't, you're making the things worse for everyone. This isn't what they need, It's like you're dealing with a bunch of people who, it's almost like re-victimization, right? It's like her son did all these awful things to these women, and now his mother is just picking up where he left off and continue to do awful things and destroy their lives even more. And I swear to God, if she goes for Ziggy, oh, I'm gonna be so
I
pissed.
know. Because I was worried about that when she said, "Are you struggling, Jane?" I'm like, "Oh no, she better not go after Ziggy. No."
I'll be livid. It cannot happen. Cannot. Because, like, it's just, okay, whatever you can say about what Celeste is dealing with. And again, I think it's more than earned given what she went through. But, like, Jane is not, she doesn't have, she's not on a bunch of medications, and she doesn't drink, and she doesn't, she's like a really good parent. She's never pushed Ziggy that we know of, right? And this is not to say that Celeste is a bad parent, but it's just like that Celeste is, there's layers to, there's complications with Celeste, as there are in a lot of families. With Jane, we don't even see that. So it's like there's literally nothing other than just, you have to control everything. I can't handle it. Can't handle it, Mary Louise. You're done. I hope she gets what's coming to her.
Right.
I hope you're canceled, Mary Louise. Anyway, I think, let's see, what else do we have? Oh, Bonnie and Elizabeth. So we find out that Elizabeth, at least the doctors say there's nothing they can do for her. And so we get several scenes of weird Bonnie seeing, like, almost like she's dreaming or hallucinating, like, constantly, but it just happens over and over again. I don't know. Did you find that unsettling? Because I found that weird. It was just so confusing all the time. It's like, is this a real thing that's happening? Is this not real?
Oh yeah, there were a couple of those that happened with her, and I was like, "Oh shit, no, she didn't. Oh fuck, I got my heart jumped, and it's not even real."
Yeah. Well, like when she went to smother her.
Yes, when she went to do that, and then when she stood up, it was like,
Yeah, it's just,
quit. You're playing with my emotions here.
Well, and then it's like, but now I'm questioning everything because we get the scene where Bonnie's sleeping and Elizabeth gets up out of bed and kisses her hand or something like that. Like, was that real? Did Bonnie dream that? I'm just
Oh, yes, yes, because there were no tubes or anything on her.
yeah. So I guess that had to be a dream, but it seemed so real. And like some of the times they would properly, be like, oh no, this is a dream because then she would snap out of it and then everything would be fine. But then there were other times where it was like we didn't get that. So I was like, what, is that real? Is that not? And one of them was when, Elizabeth gets out of bed. The other one was when they were in the trial and Bonnie looked like,
Stood up.
yeah, she stood up. And I was like, oh, and then we cut and I was like, oh, we're going to go back. And she has stood up and told everybody. But apparently that was a dream too. And I was like, well, then
Yes.
why did we do it? I'm confused. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was
That
weird. It was weird editing. Sorry. Go ahead.
yes. Well, no, I was just gonna say it was a lot of false. I don't want to false hope, false. I don't know. I didn't like it.
Yeah. And this just, I feel like that happened a lot. But then Bonnie ends up reading the statement, which, I touched on in the beginning in my comments. And, I've made my feelings known about that. Did you have anything else to add on that? But I think we kind of covered it
No.
earlier.
Yeah, we did cover that earlier. Yes.
Yeah, I just that's just the whole thing. But the point, there was that one point where Bonnie asked the doctor, can we kill her? And I was like, that's not a thing to ask the doctor. Like it's
Yeah.
certainly not in that way.
Probably not a good move there, Bonnie.
Well, certainly not in that way, right? And if I'm not mistaken, California might have a doctor assisted suicide law. Like I know Oregon or Washington does. And I thought California did too. So it seems like that actually would be an option despite what the doctor said.
Right.
But either way, I don't necessarily know that this would qualify in that case. And it's just really weird. And again, I was like, wait, was that real? Was she dreaming that she asked? But it felt like that one was real. That one was real, right?
Yeah, my understanding it was real.
I mean, who can tell though? Because I thought she actually stood up, but no, I think that one was real. I think that one was real, but it's just like it is again very disjointed because sometimes it's like she loves her, which I guess maybe is the point. Now that I think about it, like it is complex the relationship that she has with her mother because of course she's her mom and you love your mom, and yeah, okay, I guess I can see that the wheels are turning, the hamsters are turning in my head, and I'm thinking about it live on air. But I guess I can see her having a complicated thought of, yes, I love my mom, but also, she's caused all this misery, and obviously, we know she blames her for what happened with Perry and what happens with Nathan and all that stuff. But still, it just, I don't know, just very disjointed because it just seems like we go from one scene where she like loves her and wants to reconcile, and the next scene she's like, oh, can we kill her? It's like, that's awkward. Like, I get that meme in my head of like, nobody, absolutely no one. Bonnie, can we kill my mom? And it just kind of came out of nowhere. But anyway, maybe that was just me. All right. Any other thoughts? Do we have anything else that we missed?
Trying to think.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, I guess I give it an okay to go ahead and watch. Don't have extremely high hopes. I enjoyed it in the sense of, there were a few things that I did like, more a little bit of the writing, but the cinematography and of course the music was great in this episode, but
Always.
it not my favorite, and felt there was a lot of scenes that didn't have a lot of context to them, didn't know why they were there.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one more episode left, and it's like if you're going to bring something in on the second to last episode of the season,
Mm-hmm.
please I don't want that. I don't want that in my last episode of the season,
Mm-hmm.
of following up with something that just happened last episode. So, I don't know. I don't know if any a lot of the things in this episode will get, explained, or if we'll understand the context of it. I don't know. But give it a watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. If you go back over the last few episodes, last week, I was really into it. You weren't so much into it. The week before, you were into it, and I was not into it. I gotta say, after this week's episode, I like last week's episode less because I feel like less of it mattered now in retrospect, considering oh, Corey's not actually a cop and just got called in for questioning. I was like, oh well, that was a weird cliffhanger to end on. Then if he just got called in for questioning and didn't tell him anything, and it just gets
Mm,
explained away in the first scene of the next episode.
y- Yeah, that was a little quick. I couldn't believe that's what they opened with.
Yeah, and then like the very next scene that they're together, she's like, "Oh yeah, it's not even about that. It's just too fast." And I'm like, "Well, then why did we do this? Why was this a big deal?" So I like
I
last
know.
episode. It just feels like the season is really sputtering out here towards the end. It feels like they kind of ran out of. It feels like they ran out of story, if I'm honest. And
And
it kind of feels like they should just stopped after one season.
yeah, I think you might be right. I mean, mm, I'm glad they did a second season because I do enjoy it, but yeah,
Well,
I don't know.
and interestingly, we got decided like I will say one of the saving graces of season 2 has been the performances have been excellent, right?
Yes.
And in particular, and I raved about it last episode, and I still think that episode or that scene with Mary Louise and Renata is amazing and excellent, right? And we got very little of Meryl Streep, Mary Louise in this episode, despite the fact that it was largely about events that she created, but she only spoke like
Yeah.
5 lines of dialogue in the whole episode. And so like if you say that the season has been carried by the performances, one of which is the amazing Meryl Streep, and then in this episode, Meryl Streep has 5 lines of dialogue and all these other unnecessary scenes, and it's like, well, you're kind of missing the one thing that you had going for you. So for me, I give it a like I don't recommend. But I mean, always keep that in mind with the sense of yes, if you've been watching all 5 episodes and there's only 2 episodes left. Okay, yes, watch it because you're gonna see how it ends, right? But if if you're just coming into this blind and haven't seen any of it, then like I can't say so far that I would recommend season 2. I think you should just leave it at season 1, to be honest, because that's where the book
Well,
was.
right. Well, we'll just have to see what happens next episode,
Yes,
next Sunday.
prove me wrong, HBO. Prove me wrong, Big Little Lies. Maybe next episode answers all these questions. They bring up, whatever was going on with Tori and Ed and Joseph. Maybe it answers everything, and maybe we get the, you're goddamn right I did from Mary Louise, and
Yeah.
maybe it's great. I hope it is, but not a fan of how it's ending. And I gotta say, I said a couple episodes back that I thought that this season had differentiated itself in the fact that the writer of the book was still involved in creating the story for season 2. And I thought that because if you watch the credits say story by the guy who created the show and Leanne Moriarty, who wrote the book.
Yes.
But in that article I was reading today about, they did all these directorial changes and everything like that. Apparently, she actually wasn't involved in creating the story for this. So I don't know if that's just a carryover from season 1. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Now that we're getting to the end, it kind of because I felt like Big Little Lies season 1 started off amazing. Those first few episodes are great. Had kind of a lull in the middle, but then it ended really strong. And this one I feel like started well, and then it's just kind of tapered off as it's gone.
Yeah.
So anyway, we have a differing opinion in the comments. Slowboat Sailing says 6 was better than 5. Let's hear about Perry's dead brother from Mary Louise. I think 7 will be good. They had a mid-season lull. So differing opinion. They think that 6 was actually a better episode and that it's going to get better. This one didn't hit it for me, but I do hope it gets better. I agree with you on that one, Slowboat Sailing.
Yeah, I think yeah, definitely onto something there. think it was just a mid-season little lull. So, because the beginning of the season to me was absolutely incredible. Last couple episodes, last week and this week,
Mhm.
little not my favorite, but bring it on, episode 7.
Well, I'm on it just to watch Nicole Kidman and Meryl Streep go at it 1-on-1 again.
Duke it out.
It's gonna be Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. It's gonna be great, and except for hopefully better, right? So I hope that it ends up being great. Maybe that'll make it all worth it. That's what I'm hoping for. Hoping.
Yeah.
Hope.
Same.
I have a tendency to say hope. Watch our last video. Or watch the last gameplay video. There's a joke about that, and I got called out for it by Jeremy for saying hope too much. So I apologize. I hope you forgive me. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I hope I will too.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, do you have any major predictions for next episode? I'm kind of putting you on the spot here.
No, not really. I mean, I watched the clip of the preview mini preview for the next episode, but no real predictions other than I'm hoping Celeste keeps her kids and
Mhm.
Ed and Madeline reconcile.
Yeah. Well, I
You?
guess that would be the one prediction I have, that Ed and Madeline will reconcile. Yeah. I guess I in my head again, the hamsters are turning, and it's making me wonder about the whole thing of, if all this comes out, if Bonnie admits to this, is Ed gonna not be able to trust Madeline again? I could totally see this going in a Greek tragedy ending.
Oh yeah, I can see that too.
And I don't want that to I don't want that to happen. Because I feel like we're probably not going to get a season 3. I could be wrong, but I feel like we're probably not going to get a season 3. And if that's the case, that's not how I want the show to end. Because as much as season 1's finale was, not great, but there was some catharsis and there was some release to it. It was a suitable ending. If this just goes all Greek tragedy where everybody's relationship falls apart and people go to prison, that doesn't feel warranted. Because again, self-defense. I don't know why we're doing this in the first place. So stop ruining people's lives over this thing. So, but I get the feeling that's where they're gonna go. So that's my prediction, but I hope to God that I'm wrong. So.
Okay.
Well, anyway, so that has been our review of Big Little Lies season 2, episode 6, The Bad Mother. Feel free to watch our other review videos and watch our latest video. Subscribe to us on social media and like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Until next time, keep it casual, everyone. Bye.